So my name is Mike Valdes. I am a partner out of the North and South Carolina offices, with all the great partners we have out there, Sean, Sir, Tijuana, keep naming them all, doing a phenomenal job out there. One of the things that, when George talked to me about this and asked me, hey, let's go ahead and get things rolling. He put it out to all the leaders. What do you want? Can you guys go ahead and sign up, set up, your topic? What do you want to talk about? Usually my go-to is Fsbo'S, cold calling for sale by owners. That's what I've been able to generate, a ton of business through. I've gone anywhere from cold calling Miami to Broward to Orlando, to North Carolina. First time I was up in North Carolina, um, I just started calling cold Fsbo'S just to see how it is. One of the biggest things that I'll talk through today is kind of what I was saying a little bit earlier for those who are not on. Basically, I'm going to cover some of the topics that I think separate the people that do very well with Fsbo'S versus those who don't. I'm not going to sit here and talk about what works for me, what doesn't work for me specifically, because what works for me and what doesn't work for me is not going to work for everyone else, and it's not going to be the same situation for everyone else. So just to go ahead and get into it, we'll start with that, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about social media, and I'm going to talk a good bit about your current pipeline, your client's database, who you have to work now and who you've worked in the past, and how to keep them as current clients versus transitioning them into that past client bucket. Clients should never move into any past client bucket unless you just don't want to work them anymore, which I don't see why anyone would. So first and foremost, cold calling. Cold calling is an animal within itself. When you jump into for sale by owner cold calling, you are now jumping into the lion's den. I'd like to say, if anybody on here has ever cold called for sale by owners, you'll probably know that you're going to get cussed out a lot. You're going to get yelled at a lot. People are going to tell you, like, stop calling me. I'm not working with realtors. And it's something that can be very, very demotivating. But it's also something that when you accomplish it, it feels even better, right? You feel like you've succeeded. You feel like you've accomplished something because you're actually working hard for it versus just getting lucky, right? So the one thing that I cannot stress enough with cold calling with for sale by owners is the number one bullet on here, which is prep work. A lot of agents, they want to start cold calling anything. That doesn't matter whether you're cold calling Fsbo'S, expireds, geo leads, whatever it is you're cold calling. A lot of agents decide they want to start cold calling a certain location, a certain area, and ultimately don't do any preparation work, right? The chances that you're gonna get a cold call and convert it are already low. So when you go in there blind, it's even harder. And I'm gonna go a little bit more into that as well. Second topic I'll be talking through with cold calling is intangibles. These are things that are just not physical aspects of the call that you can prepare for or anything like that, that are some pointers that I'm going to give to kind of prepare you to have this conversation and to make yourself sound a little bit different than what 99% of the realtors that are cold calling Fsbo'S or anyone really are sounding like. Which, if you've ever heard the cold calls, or if you ever started cold calling and maybe kind of transitioned to something different, it sounds very robotic. It sounds like you're reading a script, you're kind of going through the motions. So giving you a little bit of some pointers on that and how to change that. And then the third piece is questions versus hesitations. So one thing I will note as I go through this, guys, I have right now 4 cameras on. If I can get you guys to turn your cameras on, I know it's morning. I know your hair's not done. I know you haven't had coffee yet. I'd love to see some faces because I want to see engagement. I want to talk to you guys. I want to hear questions. Because if I'm just talking to a screen all day, I promise you guys are not learning as much as you're going to learn if you actually chime in and start listening and having conversations with me. So let's go ahead and get onto the first slide. So prep work. Everyone sees prep work? Number 1, location. Number 2, market. Just want to confirm before I start.
Yes.
All right,
Yes.
perfect. So anybody care to chime in when if has anybody cold called in here that's has their cameras on, or that's, that just wants to chime in even if you don't have your camera on?
Yeah, I cold call.
Okay. Do you do any prep work, or you usually just hit a dialer and just start calling?
We when we had the cold calling group, we used to role play a lot, and then we just be trying to hop on the phones. But yeah, I do a lot of for sale by owner and foreclosures. I get more, how you say it? How you say it? I get more results with the foreclosure than I do with the for sale by owner.
Okay.
But I do get to the door. I do get to the door. I just haven't had a for sale by owner sign a listing agreement with me. Foreclosures all day. That's easy for me. I learned how that, but
Perfect.
yeah.
Thank you for chiming in. So she mentioned 2 pieces: foreclosures, for sale by owners, right? So on both of these things, you got to do prep work. You got to know what you're talking about, especially foreclosures. If you don't know about foreclosure game, you probably shouldn't be calling foreclosures. Specifically on for sale by owners, this is why, and what she just mentioned is, I get to the door, but I haven't signed one. Getting to the door is the number 1 challenge. The second challenge is, well, for one, getting to have a conversation is the number 1 challenge. Second challenge, getting to the door. Third challenge, getting to sign the listing agreement. And when you go through either of those steps, and the further you get, and the further you get to know, the harder it becomes to keep dialing and keep dialing and keep dialing. All right. So I'll preface this by saying, number 1 thing, the cold calling that sets people apart, the ones that do it well, the ones that don't, is consistency. If you're not consistent and you're not consistently practicing and practicing and practicing, you're never going to get better, and you're never going to get used to those no's. The more you get used to no's, the closer you are getting to the yeses. Okay. With prep work, 2 specific things that I like to focus on with preparation work are location and the market. Okay. With location, if you're calling for sale by owners, or you're calling a market that you are not familiar with, you're already putting yourself at a disadvantage. Okay. So when you think about location and prep work, the thing I like to think about is stay ready so you don't have to get ready. If you start making phone calls, your chances of converting a Fsbo are probably under 5%. Okay. So if you get a Fsbo on the phone and you finally start having a good conversation, and now they ask you about the schooling in the area, or they ask you about what, they start talking to you about what they like about the area that really brings clients to the area, that really brings buyers. So that helps with the marketing in that area, and you're absolutely clueless, the phone call is basically going to go south, right? No matter how good it is, if you're calling a location, let's say, I'll give you a perfect example. If I start calling like North Broward, I have no idea. I don't even know if Publix exists in North Broward. No, it does, but just kind of giving you guys an idea of what I mean. So if I'm calling a location that I'm not familiar with, and they start talking about the nearest park in the area, or the nearest school in the area that really is like a big selling point for that house specifically, and I don't know what they're talking about, that conversation's done, right? So are you calling an area that you're familiar with? When you're going to start calling Fsbo'S, or really anywhere, any cold calling type of lead, make sure that you're giving yourself at least the opportunity to call somewhere that the location, that like bread and butter, where you grew up, where you currently live, whatever it is that you can do to familiarize yourself with that area. Even if you're going into a new location, study it, go drive it, just kind of get to know the area, so that way you go in equipped, right? You got to understand that you have to know what's going to help market that house. Do you know what's drawing buyers to that area? And do you know what are the challenges of selling in that area? Okay. So what is drawing buyers to that area? Buyers don't just buy for a single particular household. They fell in love with one house. No, they would have never looked for that house if it wasn't that they were looking for the area, right? So when they're looking for a household, understand that as a family, most people that are purchasing are either purchasing as a family or a couple looking to start a family, there's other reasons as to why they're looking to buy in that area. So if you're understanding these reasons from your clients, as a selling point, you're able to market the property better. And then also another piece is the challenges. So I'll give you an example what I mean by the challenges that's selling in that area. Silver Palms is a community that used to sell very, very well here in the Homestead area. Silver Palms, the problem right now and the challenge that they're seeing is that they have Lennar building right across the street, basically. All right, and they're offering all these incentives, all these closing cost reimbursements, all these buy downs of interest rates. So that's a big challenge for that area. So if you were to go to a for sale by owner and go ahead and tell them like, hey, we're going to get your house under contract in 30 days, this, that, and you're pitching the world to them. And then you finally get them in the door, you get the listing. That's going to be a listing that you just wasted your time, right? Because maybe they gave you the listing, but you're going to cancel in 30 days when you couldn't fulfill all the guarantees that you made, right? One of the biggest things that I enjoy about for sale by owners, and I like that really I feel sets a lot of people apart, is when you're actually honest with them and upfront and transparent, they appreciate it, right? Whether that's to the value of their property, whether that's to the challenges that you're going to see when it comes to selling their property, having real conversations with them so they know what exactly is going to happen, is going to get you a lot further than when you just blow smoke and let them feel like, hey, your house is going to fly. There's not going to be any challenges with this. Like, this is perfect. You have the last Coke in the desert. Have a real conversation with these people. Okay. And then the second piece with the prep work is the market, right? Being able to talk as the expert around market value, right? Around average days on market, around the current actives, the pendings, the last sold, understanding the competition. This is a piece that is very good to have in terms of your knowledge. You're not necessarily going to have conversations around these topics over the phone unless the seller presses, right? These are things that you're more so going to bring to the table when you get in the door, but it's things that you want to have, because if you get into a phone call that they start talking to you about this, and again, you don't know, the phone call is pretty much dead. Okay. If you are not prepared to lead that conversation and you're not prepared to answer questions and follow up with further questions for the seller or the owner, you're going to be in a situation where they're going to ask you a bunch of questions. You're going to have a lot of I don't know, let me find out for you. And it's just going to show the owner and the seller that you are not equipped to have that conversation, and that you're making premature phone calls. And ultimately what it's going to do is just not get you in the door. Okay. So one of the things that the biggest recommendations I have for people that are starting to make phone calls, whether it's for sale by owners, geo leads, really anything, is get yourself in front of a computer. Take 2 minutes to make your prep work. Take 2 minutes to check the market. Take 2 minutes. The location, just pick a location don't spend 3, 4, 5 hours learning a location if you haven't even called the neighborhood you live in. Start with where start with the areas that you're familiar with. I'm sure there's a lot of areas that you're familiar with, and then go from there, at least to get yourself prepared. Even if that's not the area you want to farm with for sale by owners or geo leads or whatever the case is, get yourself prepared and get get your calls going with those locations, and then move on to other spots if you're going to move on to other spots. Okay. Any questions so far? That's pretty simple. Good on that? All right, so we'll move on. Second piece with calling. This is going to be the bigger piece when it comes down, in my opinion, to calling for sale by owners, is the intangibles. This is not, it's not the things that you say, it's how you say them. It's goes to basically when people ask me, and I'll give you an example. First time I was in North Carolina and I started making phone calls, one of our agents, Scott, was out there, and he heard this entire phone call from start to finish. When I finished the phone call, he asked, I had set an appointment, and he goes, wait, hold on. You're calling a lead right now? You're cold calling? And I say, yeah, why? And he goes, bro, I thought you were talking to one of your friends this entire time. And I was like, what do you mean? Did you not hear and he's like, yeah, but your tone, the way that you were going about the phone call, it didn't sound like you were calling a Fsbo. So why is it that? Why is that, right? How can you go ahead and get to the point where, yes, I've been calling for 3.5 years, so it's consistently calling for 3.5 years, you get to the point where you start feeling a little bit more comfortable. But at the end of the day, every first call of my day is still jittery, is still nerve-wracking, is still that same phone call that you feel that nervousness, and that you're like, man, I feel like I'm doing this from day one all over again. So that's why I go back to what I said earlier, the consistency. If you're not doing this consistently, the jitters are never gonna go away. So number one thing, when you're making these phone calls, right? Your tone. Your tone, I would say, is the most important, because your tone could end a phone call in 5 seconds, or it can allow you to be on a phone call for 10 minutes. If you're making these phone calls and you're not exuding confidence, and you feel and sound like a chicken that does not know how to jump out the nest, you are going to get hung up on. And what I mean by confidence is not cockiness, it's not arrogance, it's confidence. You are the expert on that phone call, right? You want to make sure your client feels that you are the expert on that phone call, okay? Second piece, be the calming voice. They are not used to a calm, cool, and collected voice. They're used to the, hey, this is Mike with Lifestyle International Realty. I see you're selling a house. Are you working with agents? Can I come see your house? That's what they're used to. They're used to that like nervous, scripted, robotic realtor. And that's not everybody, but it's a lot of them. To kind of give you an idea, for sale by owners, they're fielding literally between 100 to 120, 150 calls sometimes per day. So another piece that I recommend for you guys is put yourselves in their shoes. You've received 120 to 150 calls a day. How are you going to feel? How are you going to be turned around? And how are you going to, be open to a conversation when you don't want to work with agents? Because for sale by owners, they listed their house because they don't want to work with agents, right? So give yourself an opportunity to put yourself in their shoes and feel what they're feeling for a second, and try to understand, like, okay, how can I get this person to feel a little bit better? Calm down, relax. How can I provide value to this person, and help them see that, maybe keeping me on the phone might be beneficial for them, okay? That leads to my third bullet under tone, is do not always mirror your client's tone. Every time I read this bullet, every time I do a training of these, people ask me like, but what do you mean? But what do you mean? But what do you mean? Of course you want to mirror your client's tone. When you start calling Fsbo'S, and you do it as much as I have, you don't want to mirror your client's tone all the time. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. If they're yelling at you or they have an attitude, you're not going to, yell at them or have an attitude. And the only reason this bullet even exists is because there have been people that I've seen that are yelling back at clients and are having attitude with clients. And it's like, just hang up the phone. Like, what's the point of that phone call? You're not going to win that phone call. You guys are arguing with each other. Like, this doesn't sound like you're talking to a client. You're not being respectful. I don't care how much they yell at you. You're not yelling at them, right? The way you win a yelling battle is by making them not yell anymore and getting them to the point where you kill them with kindness, and they realize that they're being jerks for no reason, and they calm down and they completely 360. My favorite clients to go meet in person and have a laugh about how they yelled at me when they first started talking to me are those. Getting them to calm to where they absolutely love me by the end of the phone call, and they're actually inviting me to their house. And then when I get to their house, we're laughing about how, hey, you sound you're a lot nicer than what you looked like when I first, picked up that phone call. So do not always mirror your client's tone. Any questions so far about those 3 pieces? All right, we will move forward. So number 2, subject matter expert, going right back to the details about that I was talking about in the last slide around location and market. Are you preparing for this phone call? Do you know the area, and are you stumbling through the call? I'm going to move fast through this bullet just because we just talked about it. But the last piece there, are you stumbling through the call? If you are stumbling through a call and you are stuttering, you don't feel confident, you don't sound confident, it's only because you did not prepare for the call. You probably don't even know if they're priced correctly. You don't know anything in terms of the nitty-grittiness of the market that they're dealing with. You don't know if the house is super underpriced, overpriced. You don't know if the house is going to sell within 30 days or 180 days. You really don't have much insight into the property, so you don't feel confident. The last thing you want to do when you're making these phone calls is not be prepared and not have confidence in your voice, because the moment you don't have confidence in your voice, it's done. Okay, so don't allow yourself to stumble. You're gonna have the ums and you're gonna have the already the jitters. It's gonna happen, but don't allow yourself to stumble over things that you need to know. And this is, I will talk about this real quick in terms of one of the pieces of feedback that I've heard, that if anybody's ever been to Chasing Whales, has heard, and I hear almost all the time, being over at the lab. The one piece of advice that I heard when people told, when Carl specifically told me, hey, you know, when you want to get to that higher price point, or you want to get to meet with these new clients, once you start getting into higher price points, these people know what they're talking about, right? So if you don't know anything and everything about everything in that area, if you are not the baddest person in terms of knowledge for that area, you're putting yourself at a disadvantage. But you will be mind blown at what different confident level you walk into on a for sale by owner call or geo lead or anything, when you have all the confidence in the world because you know everything about that area. It's kind of like earlier when I really don't know who was talking, because there's like a bunch of you on here. But when you guys, whoever was that chimed in that was talking about foreclosures versus for sale by owners, I guarantee you she feels a lot more confident in her knowledge with foreclosures than what she feels with for sale by owners, because she probably calls for foreclosures all the time, and she knows everything about foreclosures, and she knows the whole process, and she knows like it's the back of her hand. For sale by owners is a different phone call every single day, a different situation every single phone call. Everything is completely different, so it's a lot harder to get confident with that. But she's killing it with her foreclosures. As you heard it, yeah, foreclosures, I got it in the bag. It's always locked in, boom, ready to go. And that's the confidence level that she's talking to her foreclosure clients with. So how do you turn that and now call that a Fsbo with that same confidence? How do you turn that and call a geo lead with the same confidence, etc.? Okay. And then the last piece, reverse psychology. This is around intangibles. Guys, reverse psychology, it's sales. Everything in sales is reverse psychology. People, when are being called for sale by owners, they think that you're gonna have commission breath. They think that you're just trying to get the sale. You're just trying to get the listing. You're just trying to get the listing. They're not expecting you to help them even on the first phone call. They're not expecting you to give them advice even on the first phone call. Be a helping hand. Provide a service. Separate yourself from other retailers. I tell sellers all the time, it doesn't even have to be me. You don't have to list with me. I'm not giving you this advice because I want your listing necessarily. Thankfully, I'm in a good spot in my career that I'm not dying for my next listing. But what I do want to do is provide you with the value and the knowledge that by the time this phone call ends, whether you're telling me to come over or you're asking another agent to come over, you're prepared to equip yourself with the biggest piece basically the biggest tool to maximize your profits, which is a listing agent, right? But it doesn't have to be me, right? Oh, you're hosting an open house this weekend. Well, look, this is what you're gonna do. Boom, 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 boom. You're gonna give them things to do. You're gonna give them advice. You give them pointers, right? Because do you think every other realtor that's calling is giving them pointers on how to host a solid open house? Of course they're not, because they're intimidated. They feel like, hey, if I tell this person what I do at my open houses and I tell this seller, they're not going to need me. I'll give you a little wake-up call if you feel that way. Fsbo'S would never need you and would never list with any agents if they didn't need us. Fsbo'S have no idea what they're doing. Fsbo'S has zero exposure to the market. Fsbo'S have zero exposure to buyers. Zillow literally hides listings that are for sale by owners. Okay. If you're not telling this to every single one of your clients, if you didn't know this already, imagine how hard it is for you to find for sale by owners. Please tell me that if a buyer is looking for listings in the world that we live in, that everyone wants easy and at their fingertips, that they're looking for Fsbo sales and Fsbo listings. They don't even know they exist. Okay. So point that out to whatever owner, seller you're talking to, point it out to them. Right. About 2 years ago, Zillow used to have the properties all listed collectively together as one. Now that doesn't exist anymore. If you want to find a for sale by owner as a buyer, you have to select and filter, like it's like 3 different filters that you have to click on just to see Fsbo's. All right. I promise you, buyers aren't doing that. At least 99.9% of them are not. Okay. And you can validate this when you talk to your clients, the seller, the owner, if they're not your client yet. You can validate this by telling them, not for nothing, but I'm pretty sure you're feeling this, right? I'm pretty sure 99% of your phone calls, if not 100% as of now, have been realtors, right? And then they're going to start thinking and they're going to start realizing that, the person on the other side of this phone call is right. Okay. And that's when they might be able to start listening a little bit deeper to you and having a real conversation with you. Okay. So, I've gotten off of phone calls where people thank me and people call me back after their open house because I gave them value. I gave them pointers. I gave them ideas. I helped them with how to prepare to sell their house, how to do it on their own. I wish them all the luck in the world. I compliment them for doing so. All right. Selling your house by owner is not an easy task. It is not an easy task at all. So when I tell you that you're giving these people feedback and pointers and ideas, you're probably one of maybe 2, if that, that are doing so. So they're going to appreciate it and they're going to look at you differently. They're going to see you differently. And they're going to say, hey, this person isn't even working with me yet. I haven't even committed to them and they're already giving me value. They're already trying to help me. They're going to walk off that phone call, whether they invite you on that phone call or not. And they're going to be thinking that, hey, Mike really did something different. Mike was really trying to help me, regardless whether I was working with him or not. Mike, right? So when it comes down to it, and I'm going to follow up as soon as I finish that phone call, I'm going to follow up and I'm going to have thank them for their time, appreciate them for their time, let them know that whatever questions they have, I am there for them. I am a resource for them from that point on, whether they decide to work with me or not. Okay. Again, be the value that others don't give. Don't think that you don't got to work for free sometimes to get the money. Okay. I've worked for free before and not gotten the money, and I've worked for free before and gotten the money. I've helped a seller for 6 months with advice about how to market their house, how to do this, how to do that. They didn't sell it. I got the listing. I sold it in a week. Okay. But just like you got to invest money into your business, whether it's your marketing, your brand, your social media, however, whatever, just like you got to invest money, you got to invest time, you got to invest your efforts. Not everything is easy, especially in this business. This is a business where if your follow-up is not there, it's game over. Can we hit the next slide? Now I'm actually guiding myself through here. So, oh, actually, you know what? I have control of that. Whoops. Let me go here real quick. All right. Last one here. This was just in reference to the last point that I was making was set your, it doesn't even have to be me. Setting the right expectation and having a non-sales approach. When people ask, are you a buyer's agent, right? It's a very simple question. A lot of people want to say, yeah, I'm a buyer's agent and I have, a lot of buyers that I'm looking for in the area, and this house might work for them. So I'm going to start by lying to you and hope to gain your business. No. If you lie to me on a phone call, I don't care if I'm a for sale by owner. I don't care if I'm selling a pair of shoes. If your first conversation with me is a whole lie, I don't want to work with you. Okay? Be truthful with these people. It'll go a long way. All right? I'm a listing agent. While I work some buyers, my biggest focus is listings, which brings me a ton of exposure, to buyer agents that have multiple buyers. You benefit more from this. Why? I literally have thousands of agents looking at my social media all of the time and messaging me, hey, I have a buyer looking for this. I have a buyer looking for that. I have a buyer looking for this, because they know that I can constantly bring in listings to the market. So I don't have one or two or three buyers like a buyer agent would. I have thousands of agents that have 2 or 3 or 4 buyers. So now I have access to 3 to 4,000 buyers versus 3 to 4 buyers. Okay. Very big difference. Very open and honest, and having a real conversation with these people versus, yeah, I might have a buyer for you, so I'm just trying to ask a few questions. Okay. You let them know you don't want to work with the buyer's agent. You want to work with the listing agent. Whether it's me or not, it doesn't matter. Your best bet is to work with an agent. At the very least, excuse the typo, at the very least, you want to work with a solid listing agent to start. As a for sale by owner, they think that they're doing the best thing by starting as for sale by owner and then working with an agent afterward. It's literally the opposite. If you work with the right listing agent and it does not work out, you don't have a cancellation fee. You can give yourself 2 to 3 months to practice, like they say, to test the market with a listing agent, to get real exposure, real marketing, and see what they could generate with a listing agent. If you can't generate what works for you, okay, you move your separate ways, you go listed by owner. Now you go test the waters by yourself. But it's literally doing the opposite of what you should do when it comes down to marketing and sales. You're giving yourself the worst chance before you give yourself the best chance. Okay. So very easy conversations to have with people. Again, this isn't work with me. It's you're pushing them to work with an agent. If they decide that agent is you, perfect. But if you do this different and you make it you make it about me, you're done. All right, you're cooked. It's done. It's over. Because all they're hearing is me, work with me, work with me. I'm the agent. You need to work with me, and they feel the commission breath. I'm telling you, you just need to work with an agent. You see how it's very different. The conversation, the tone is just it's not the same. And when you as a client are listening, it's an even bigger impact. Okay. Any questions about for sale by owners, cold calling? That is what I have for you guys today. And then this last piece, question handling. So far, though, what we have talked about, do you guys have any questions?
Hi, good morning. Yes, I do. Listen, I was making a couple of calls to sell by owner,
Mm-hmm.
and I noticed that 3 of them told me, if you have a buyer, call me. I'm paying 3%. And honestly, I
Perfect.
don't have that much experience on it, but I was listening to you saying, to be honest with them, and but I was kind of confused why they're telling me if I have if I have a buyer to bring it now and they will pay me 3%. I don't know if they were just trying to get rid of me. But also
No.
I asked them to give me their email. That way I can send the paper, to them to sign it and to meet with them. One of them did, but I don't have no buyer.
Yes.
So
So that you're gonna get that from a lot of for sale owners, and thank you for chiming in and asking a question. You're gonna get that from 90, I would say 80 to 90% of for sale owners, because they're okay with paying a buyer's agent to bring them a buyer. They just don't want to pay the other side. All right. They wanna pay somebody to work against them, but they don't want to pay somebody to work for them and to defend them. Which makes zero sense in court. But when it comes down to it, why they say that? They say that because they are paying 3%. Those are the good ones, actually, because they're already committed to half of the commission. All right. And when it comes down to it, realistically, anybody that tells me they take Fsbo'S and that they're, oh my God, I only do 6% and blah blah blah, I don't want to hear it. I've done Fsbo'S long enough, and I've pushed for 6%. You'll get a few 6% if you get lucky and you're the first person to talk to them. But when they're getting pitched 3.5%, 4% all day, because people are literally like that. Hey, I'll do this for 4%. I'll do it for 3%. I'll do it for 3.5%. You have agents out there doing that. You're gonna be settling between 4 and 5%, realistically speaking. So when you're having these conversations, with these agents, or I'm sorry, with these sellers, okay, cool. So you're already cooperating with buyer agents. I actually ask, one of my first questions is, are you cooperating with buyer agents? Because I want to know if that battle is at least there. Am I fighting a battle that I can fight, or am I just climbing an uphill battle that I'm never going to get to the top of the hill, right? So I asked that question up front. Hey, are you cooperating with buyer agents? Boom. When they say yes, oh, I'm paying 3%. Awesome. So you're already open to this. My follow-up question to that, whenever they start, oh, I paid 3%, bring me a buyer, we could work it out. I let them know, like, okay, so I completely get it. Let me ask you, is there anything that's holding you back from listing this with an agent? Or is it just you're trying to save that other 3%? Understand why they're only paying a buyer agent and try to have a conversation with them. Okay.
Thank you.
I can go down this rabbit hole, and we would spend the last 20 minutes that we have on that question. But I don't want to, because it's going to be just answering one question. And I have like 4 more slides that I want to get through that are very, very beneficial. Do me a favor, shoot me a message after this, call me, email me, whatever it is. My information has to be somewhere out there. I'll put it in the chat as well. But basically, that's what I would go down the route. Understanding why they're only trying to work with a buyer agent and helping them get to where you see that, or they see the value in you. And did they understand that the only difference, I usually put it to them in dollars, between another 1 to 2%. And I tell them straight up, if I can negotiate another 10 or 15,000 or whatever it is out of a contract when it comes down to representing you as a listing agent, I shouldn't even be a realtor, and I definitely shouldn't be selling homes. I should be working with buyers, if anything. Okay. So very easy conversation to have, very easy thing to pivot from. But again, number one thing is, okay, let's find out why you're not trying to list with an agent and why you're trying to only work with a buyer agent, and we'll go from there. Okay. So last piece around cold calling, and then we're going to move on. Question handling versus handling hesitations. Very quick on this slide, guys. Not everything a client says is a hesitation. So stop acting and treating it like one. Okay. What do I mean by that? Very simple. If somebody says, what is your commission that you charge? Is that a hesitation? No. Do you have to treat it like a hesitation? Absolutely not. Are you going to freak out? No. Acknowledge. That's a great question. Answer the question. Industry standard, 6%. We can have the conversation around commissions when the time comes. The reality is, right now, for me, the most important thing is to understand your goals and what you're trying to accomplish. And I know you have a number in mind. So when we get to that discussion, we get to that conversation, believe me, the commission that I'm going to be charging is the last of my worries. So let's go ahead and understand a little bit more about your situation first. And when the time comes, we'll talk about that. And believe me, whatever makes sense for you will have to make sense for me, and vice versa. Okay. And then move forward, get to the next point. Don't dwell on this. This conversation is something that should be happening in person. Okay. Hesitations. That's where it's a statement. Okay. Oh, but I don't want to pay commission. Acknowledge it, completely understand, relate with them. Look, if I was trying to sell my house by owner as well, and I wanted to maximize my profits, number one thought would be, hey, let me cut out as much as I could of what I got to spend so I can make the most money. The reality is, talk through value. This is what I can go ahead and bring to you. And I would love to show you this in person and kind of go over my game plan and show you the results, because I do this all the time and I know what is really going to maximize your profits. The biggest thing is, remember, the reason why you're trying to maximize those profits is because you told me X, Y, Z, and move forward. Okay. So you acknowledge, you relate with the client, you provide them value, you talk through their pain points and some of the things that you guys have already talked to that your solution is going to bring to them, and then you move forward. If in any of those two things you do the first 2 or 3 bullets and you just stop and wait for them to move the call forward, it's not going to happen. You're never going to get to the end of the phone call. You're never going to get in the door. They're going to just keep saying hesitation, hesitation, or question, question, question. It's never going to move forward. Okay. All right. Let me get to building a referral network. Guys, Building your referral network starts with you. You're never going to build a referral network. You're never going to build a happy client database if number one is not at the top of your head every single day, every single Instagram post, every single message you send, every single phone call you take. If your brand is not at the top of your mind, good luck in real estate. Number one thing that a lot of people say, right? It's very easy to lose someone's trust, but it's extremely hard to gain it. Same thing goes for your brand. It's very easy to have someone with a false perception of who you are because of a mistake you made. And it's very hard for people to gain a good and positive view of who you are. It takes a lot longer. Not as very hard, but it takes a lot longer for people to realize that you're a good human being, you mean well, etc. But it'll instantly go. You make one mistake, you do one wrong thing, one wrong action, one wrong message, one wrong post on Instagram, and everyone's image of you is gone. Okay. So building a referral network is three things: your brand, who is your brand, what's your identity; client database, how are you leveraging your current client database to move forward and create more business; and then three, social media and your circle of influence. All right. Number one, what is your brand? What are you known for, guys? What's your identity? When people think Mike, what do they think? Do they think unorganized? Do they think poorly dressed? Do they think Mike doesn't care about his business? Do they think the opposite? Right? When people look, and this goes from your in-person experience, your social media experience, your phone calls, your text messages, everything, especially with your clients, right? People are following you on Instagram, on Facebook. What do your stories look like? What do your posts look like? Are you organized? Are you clean? Are you looking, are you posting things that are of quality? Okay. When you post a video on Instagram about a property, does it look like you have a 1976 flip phone because you just did this and it came out all blurry and you didn't really care of the quality that put into it? Or does it look like you put some time and effort into that video that you're putting, right? This doesn't matter if you have an iPhone 4, if you have an iPhone 15, the newest one, or you have an Android that is even better than the iPhone, supposedly, right? The reality is when you get that video, don't just post it immediately. Give yourself an opportunity to at least look at it and make sure it's decent. Okay, if you have to do a retake, do a retake. But for people that post videos and it's just all blurry and you can't even see the house and there's not very much quality, that's what the image you're putting out there of the work that you do. So if you're trying to get a listing, think about it. The seller and the client is going to see that, all right, and they're going to think, well, that's what they're going to put out of my house. Okay. Understand that your brand is everything. How do you conduct business? All right. If you don't know what people think about your identity or about how you conduct business or what you're known for, ask. When I used to work corporate, we were challenged every 3 months to go ask 10 different people those questions and to go sit in a room and have a one-on-one conversation with people and learn about ourselves, and have real, genuine conversations. Not just tell me the good, like tell me everything. Okay. And it was a practice that for me opened my eyes a lot. It allowed me to really see what people saw me for, and it allowed me to work on myself. Okay. So your brand, guys, if you're not conducting business like you're doing it for the president of the United States every single day, and that you have all of the eyes in the world on you, at the end of the day, one time it's going to stick out, and one time the wrong person's going to see it, and you could potentially ruin your entire business just because of that one interaction. Okay, that one client that decides to go to Zillow or Google and destroy you on a review, that could end your business. Right? You're a business owner. This is your business. Just like when you go to a restaurant and you look at a review and there's 4 terrible reviews, you're not going to that restaurant anymore. Okay, so understand that this brand that you're creating every single day this is an every single day thing. You are your walking human being marketing platform. And if people see you or hear of you and do not have positive thoughts, it's not going to be a good outcome when it comes down to picking up new clients. Okay, especially not getting referrals. So your brand, understanding your brand, knowing your brand, thinking through those things, making sure that you're doing things with your morals and ethics in mind. A lot of times in real estate, you'll be presented with opportunities from agents that probably shouldn't be in the business, and also buyers and sellers that will give you opportunities to do things that are not morally and ethically correct. Don't fall into those, you know what to say. Just don't fall into that nonsense. Okay. A small paycheck, it could be $100,000 paycheck. It's not worth the rest of your life. It's not worth the rest of your career. It's not worth anything. All right. I will tell you, I've been offered at open houses, hey, I'll give you 10 grand cash if you accept my offer. I respectfully decline, and I respectfully tell them to respect me, and hey, please do not bring anything of that sort to me again, please. And this was from a buyer, right? But there's a lot of buyers that, hey, a lot of agents that might not have thought the same way, and they're, oh my God, $10,000. Again, where are your morals? Where are your ethics? You're representing the seller. You have a job in mind. Keep that job in mind. All right. And then social media. I'll talk a little bit more about social media, but that's going to be a big one as well with your brand. When talking about client database, guys, clients are not past clients until you make them past clients. I can't express that enough. I can't tell you how much it irritates me when I hear people say past clients, past clients, past clients. A past client is a past client because you forgot about them. All right. And they're not going to forget about you unless you let them forget about you. Okay. So how do you keep clients as current? First things first, what is the experience that you're providing for your clients? Are you providing them a white glove service to every single one of your clients at every single point? Doesn't matter if they're a rental at $2,000 a month or if they're a buyer at 10 million, a $10 million property. Are you providing all your clients the same service? If you're going to commit to working with a client, know that you have a responsibility. Your responsibility is to provide them with the best service that you can provide them because you committed to them. If you're not going to provide them a good service and give them that same white glove service that you gave that $10 million buyer, don't commit to them. You're doing them a disservice. You're doing them more hurt than good. Okay. The biggest thing about the experience is that, again, whether it's that $2,000 a month client for a rental or a $10 million buyer, at the end of every single interaction with a client, you should be asking for a Zillow review or a Google review. So if you find yourself finishing your job with your client for that specific transaction, right, because your job's not done, but if you find yourself closing on a transaction and you're not asking for a Zillow review or you're not asking for a Google review because you're worried of what that client might say, take a look in the mirror and ask yourself if you're in the right field. I say that wholeheartedly because, again, I know that there's people out there that provide service to a $2,000 a month client one way and then to a $10 million buyer another way. And I will tell you, those are the people that do not last very long in this industry and that are not consistent and that are not getting a referral business. And realistically speaking, the reason why they don't last that long in the business is because they're not driving a referral-based business. They're not getting to that point ever, and they're having to constantly look for leads and look for leads and look for leads, and that's exhausting. Okay, I will tell you, a lot of my buyers this year came from rental leads, people that I helped to rent and that had friends or family that were buying or that are now buyers themselves. So you never know what this business is going to bring you. This business that's, some people are renters now, they're going to be buyers later. We have an agent, Johnny, that literally focuses on mostly rentals with the end game in mind of nurturing those clients to when they turn into buyers. And he's been super successful with that. So again, doesn't matter what they're doing, white glove service, A1 experience at all times. You got to understand another thing, guys. The name that you represent is not only your name. I don't only represent Michael Valdes. When I'm conducting business, I'm representing lifestyle. I'm representing the lab. You can't only think of yourself when you're doing this business. Your license is tied to somewhere, and everyone within lifestyle is impacted by your interaction with your client, right? When people hear lifestyle, they need to hear great A1 white glove service, not one person created a terrible experience for me. And now I think of lifestyle as that. That's the brand that I've given lifestyle now, not that agent. A lot of people don't understand that we're independent contractors. A lot of people don't understand that we only have, you know, the license is what gets hung with lifestyle. And so it's not as like a corporate office. A lot of people don't realize that. And they will put your interaction with them and give lifestyle as an entire brand that image. Okay. So keep that in mind. Client database, guys, make your life easier. If you have not started, do it now. Get caught up with all your clients. But every time you work with a client, open up your client database, add them to your client database. Google Sheet is probably the easiest way to do it, or an Excel, however you want to set it up. If you're helping somebody buy, you have their address already. But if you're helping somebody sell, get their new address. You want their phone number, and you want an email for them. All right, that's the contact information you want. Along with that, you want their birthday. If you don't want to ask them for their birthday, title needs their license. Title needs a copy of their license every time you go close. Ask your title company for their birthdays. Okay. And then the last piece is their home anniversary. Whether you help them buy or sell, what is their new home anniversary to their home that they're buying now? Okay. The home that they sold, the home anniversary might be a little bit different because if they're not buying with you, but that piece as well, especially for all your buyers, their home anniversary. If you keep yourself relevant in their lives, you are going to be relevant in their lives for good. Okay. Because you are going to stay constant in their mind. You're going to keep reminding them, I exist, I exist, I exist, I exist. Every holiday. All right. I know George preaches about this. George doesn't talk about something unless he's passionate about it. Right now, you hear George talking about pickleball every single day, multiple times a day, just like he talks about Reach. If you don't have the Reach app, you need to download the Reach app. It is an app that works very well. You create your groups, you create whatever setups you want, however you want to set it up. Every holiday, you need to get on that Reach app, create again, get on Canva. Don't just send a message with no meaning to it. Whether you're doing a video or if you're going to do a picture with a message, get on Canva, create a nice story post, something that's the size of a wallpaper, decently sized with a nice headshot, a nice message, and send it out. On birthdays, it's crazy because I had written this and I looked at the WhatsApp and George's been talking about this for the last 2 days. Every birthday, you need to be sending a video message to your clients, wishing them a happy birthday, hoping they have a good day. Just keep yourself relevant. Show them your face and have that personal touch on their birthday. Every home anniversary, a handwritten card, or you can get on websites like I use Mail Power. There's a monthly subscription to it, but on an anniversary, you literally just go click address, send this mug with this Starbucks gift card, boom, to this client, done. You pay a few bucks to get it done, and it ships it out for you. Everything gets done for you. All right. If you don't want to pay the monthly subscription, you want to do it yourself, on the birthday, a week before the birthday, put it in your calendars. Go to the store, buy a little gift, put it in a box, ship it to them UPS, FedEx, so that way they get something on their birthday. What does this do for you guys? Very simple. You are giving yourself relevance in this person's life. You're putting your name and your face in their face all the time, all year round. Holidays happen all the time. So even if it's that little message, all year round. But when you do the personal touches on their birthdays and the anniversaries, it just takes a little bit further. And the biggest thing you're doing is just not allowing them to forget you exist. So every time that they think of you or they hear real estate or they hear somebody buying or selling, they think of you because you've stayed relevant in their life. You've stayed in communication with them. If you remove yourself from all of that and you don't do that, and you only wish them a happy birthday, you only wish them an anniversary once a year, they're not thinking about you the whole year. But you do those holiday messages and you remind them of what your face looks like, and you keep yourself relevant more consistently, they're going to think of you every time somebody has something said about real estate. Okay. You won't, if you don't believe me, start doing it, and you're going to start seeing that you're going to start getting more and more referrals, and you're going to be like, wow, this actually works. I promise you it does. It's 9:30, so I'm going to try to go a little bit quick. Just to be sensitive to everyone's time. I'm not in a rush, so I'm just going to go through these just to, get covered what I want to cover, because this is really important. But if you guys got to go, let me know, and I will absolutely cover these with you one-on-one. This is one of the last two slides, guys. So social media and your circle of influence. Going back to brand. And real quick, social media is no longer like social media, what you would use it for before you became a realtor, to gossip, to put your life out there, to show people that you're on the boat and partying and this, that, and the other. Think about it a little bit differently. That kind of affects you now. And obviously, I'll tell you, when I got into real estate, I didn't realize that, right? And I left my Instagram, my social media like normal. Every time I'd go out to party, I'd post a little video, boom, boom, whatever. And then I stopped, right? So now my social media, if you're on there, it's my daughters, fishing, real estate. That's it. All right. Daughters, my girlfriend, vacations, fishing, real estate. You'll get bored, but not really, because you'll be able to engage if you're a family and you enjoy those things, and you'll see my life as a human. It's normal. This is your number one marketing source, guys. And I say your number one marketing source because if you're doing EDDMs, you're doing your door knocking, you're doing whatever, there's nothing that you're doing more than social media. I don't care what anybody says, you're on your social media every single day. So if you're not leveraging it to drive business, I'll let you fill in the rest of that sentence, right? When you're thinking about your brand on social media, your brand exists also on social media, guys. What are you posting? How do your followers portray you? Are you putting out quality content? What is the quality of your videos and your pictures? Are you active on social media? Guys, I got my first over $1 million listing because of how active I was on social media, and because somebody realized that I was in the business. Mind you, somebody that I hadn't spoken to in years realized that I was in the business, started following me. Somebody that I didn't even interact with on social media until they messaged me. They were working on their first fix and flip. They purchased at like 700. They were selling for like 1.3. And they wanted to talk to me about what I thought about the property, because they saw how active I was on social media and how much business I was doing. Again, if I wouldn't have been active on social media and I wouldn't have been doing business, I wouldn't have ever gotten that, along with a lot of my other listings. Just being very, very honest. I've closed, I have 4 deals under contract right now that are connections that I reestablished with social media, and introductions that I made into learning that they're wanting to buy a house in the near future through social media. Okay. When it comes down to your content, you got to be strategic about your content, guys. Understand your audience. If you don't have anybody looking to buy $5 to $7 million houses in your follower list, and you know your follower list, don't only post $5 to $7 million properties. Okay. You can post them up. Maybe one day, you start getting followers you didn't realize that are in that price point or whatever, post them, but also be strategic in terms of who your audience is. If your price points are $500,000 to $600,000, keep your price points, majority of your content in that price point. Be also strategic in terms of what you post with your content. Okay. Don't give too much information. If I give you everything that you need on my story post, you have no reason to message me. Meaning, I'm never going to find out that you're a lead. If I'm posting, I'll give you a perfect example. I just posted Lennar. If I'm posting about Lennar, I'm going to post a picture of the house, all right, or a little video walkthrough. I'm going to post the incentives they're doing. So right now, just if you guys don't know and you're not pitching this to your clients, you need to be. On townhouses, off exit 9, Black Point Marina, 4.625% interest rate. They're paying all closing costs. Your buyer's coming in with 17 to 18K, and their mortgage is $3,800 to $3,900 on a 2.5 townhouse that's about right under 1,700 square feet. Huge deal. So what did I post? A picture of the house. as the 4.625% interest rate, closing costs paid. Done. That's it. It's like a cliffhanger. You ever seen a movie that just ends and there's no good ending? It's exactly what the story is. But it's going to make people message me. Oh my God, what do you mean a 4.625? Weren't interest rates at 7%? Oh my God, they're paying closing costs. Oh my God, 3,900, I pay that for rent. Right? All of those are leads. All of those are conversations that are just now about to turn into leads, and they're going to go into my client database, and I'm going to start talking to them and nurturing them and following up with them until they buy. All right, out of the 3 or 4 that I had that I've closed, I've actually out of the last 5 that I've closed with Lunar, all of those came from social media posts that initially started as what I just told you. And they asked one question, and I followed up with them. All of these I've followed up with since last June or July, and they've finally been ready. One in February, one now, one a few last month. But again, the reality is if you're not doing this and you're not following up, you're not nurturing, or they ask a question and you don't stay on top of them, it's over. Okay. Again, with strategic content, do not give much information, make them engage with you, and then also provide value. Provide value in the sense of give things and information that people want to learn about, that people that intrigue people to have conversations with you. Your biggest goal with your stories is to have people reply to them and message and ask questions. Okay. And then engagement. Guys, if you're not engaging with your audience, if you're not reacting to people's stories, if you're not messaging people on their stories, it doesn't all have to be real estate related, about their family life, about what they're doing on a day-to-day, whatever, commenting on posts. All that your goal is to keep yourself relevant in everybody's life that you are in, whether it's on social media or it's in person. Keep your face and your name relevant. Another pointer, this is completely up to you, but if you don't have your headshot as your main profile picture, yes, you'll remind people will think about you because of your content, but there's nothing like that headshot that says I'm a realtor. And as much as it's not an amazing thing, and it's not like, oh my God, I love my headshot, or people say like, oh, you have your headshot as your business as your like your Instagram. Yes, that's my business. That's my business page. That's what I do every single day. That's who I am. I'm a realtor. Okay. I do real estate. So that's just one piece of advice that I would say, hey, put it out there, put your headshot, because every time people see that headshot, they're going to remember, oh, that's right. Mike's a realtor. That's right. Mike's a realtor. And then obviously my content, everything else follows. Any questions so far, guys? We are on our last slide, I believe. Let me confirm. Yep, last slide. All right. So guys, how do you ask yourself, if you haven't asked yourself this question, you should start asking yourself, how do you turn one buyer into multiple buyers? You just worked the buyer. They absolutely loved working with you. How do you get them to send you business? Very simple. If you don't tell them to or ask them to, they will not. Okay. Let me rephrase that. Not that they will not. They will not do it as much. Okay. I have had clients that have loved working with me and that have worked with me forever in the beginning. And, just because I didn't, again, these are all practices, and nobody's perfect, guys. We are not all perfect. So if you're not doing all of this that I've said already, it is what it is. Start doing it now. I wasn't always doing it. Okay. But I've had clients that I've never gotten business out of again, or that I've never gotten referrals from again until recently, because I didn't do anything to make myself relevant and keep myself in their lives. Okay. So tell them to. Don't be afraid to ask for referrals. If you treat your client right, they're going to be excited to send you business. They're literally going to want to tell their friends about you. They're going to want to brag about their realtor. Okay. Ask for a Zillow review and a Google review. If you are not asking for reviews, just think about it. Are you going to a restaurant that does not have reviews, that does not have other people's thoughts and opinions on you or of the restaurant? You're probably not. You're probably inclined more to another restaurant that has great reviews and has recent reviews. So if your last review is from a year ago, Okay, that just kind of tells me what type of business you're doing, that you haven't really told people to review you. All right. Again, might not be true, but that's the perception people will get. All right. Another one that people are scared to do, ask them to share your stories. Post your business card, post your referral network or your referral story post. If you haven't done it yet, ask me for it. I'll show you what I do. Post it and ask people to repost. All right. This is your business. Help support my business. I would greatly appreciate it. And then again, not only is that gonna, if they don't post it, whatever, but at the end of the day, it still starts a conversation with some of your followers. And again, creates that engagement that you're looking to get from your followers. So if you're not creating that engagement, then what do you have social media for? To gossip? No, it's your business marketing platform. Use it. Okay. Ask people that you help purchase or sell to, I'm sure you guys have heard neighborhood apps, Facebook groups. Ask them to share your information and their experience, whatever they're going to put on that Zillow review, to share it with their neighborhood app, to get on Facebook and share it with their neighborhood group. Okay. There's nothing like a referral or a review from someone you know. So when people see that on other people's Facebook, oh, this person took the time to review their realtor, to put their information on here, to share their experience, they must have had a really good experience. Let me call them. Okay. People trust that more than reviews that you just see on Zillow. But again, you want them all. Last one here, guys. Tell them to everybody, bingo, the gym, baseball game, everywhere. Ask them to tell them about you. Give them business cards to share. Okay. Have those conversations and let them know that this means the world to you. If you have created a relationship with your client, especially if you have a family, if they know of your life, like I share my life with my clients, just like they share their lives with me. Create that bond. It starts going a little bit deeper, and you start creating more of a family versus just a client, another friend. So again, by the time you start having these conversations to ask them for referrals, you give them business cards, or sometimes they'll even ask you, hey, give me some of your business cards. I'll give them out to some of my friends whenever I hear people talking about real estate. If you don't have those conversations, not everyone thinks that way, right? So if you do have these conversations actively and you're talking about this consistently, you give yourself the opportunity to tap into a spot that otherwise might have not happened very much, right? And again, if they have a stack of your business cards and you on the holidays, you're reaching out, and on birthdays, you're wishing happy birthdays and this and that, they remember to give out those business cards, right? And they'll share with their friends. I've seen people that do this on the birthday thing and that do the whole anniversary thing. I've seen people post on their stories that their realtor, oh my God, look at what my realtor did. I have such a good realtor, blah blah blah, and they'll post it on there and they'll share with their friends. And again, that's the best way of marketing. People talking about you just on their own because of how good of a person you are, how nice of a person you are. And then last but not least, guys, EDDMs, door knock the neighborhood. You just sold that. So even if you're working a buyer, go door knock the neighborhood. Go, you could send an EDDM. You can put it out there that you just helped the buyer purchase in the community, and that you might have some more buyers that are interested in the community as well. So don't limit yourself to what you just did on that one transaction. All right. Guys, I hope you all enjoyed today. I hope you got some good nuggets. I'm gonna have the team send out this deck. Well, this will all be on YouTube. So if you guys want to go refer back to the video, you can do so. The link will be dropped very soon. I really hope you guys had a good morning. I hope you guys have a good rest of your week. You guys go out there and put this stuff to practice. Everything that you learn on these morning calls, you can sit on every single morning call, be available for every single video. Real estate is about working. If you work for it, it will work for you. But if you don't work for it, I promise you, it will not work for you. All right. Happy Wednesday. You guys enjoy the rest of your week. Thank you so much for being on here. And anything you need, reach out. Okay.